So I just want to say it's really nice to see all of you. I was away in Israel for 2 weeks. It was a good trip, but a challenging one because I took 12 ministers to Israel who had never been before, and 6 came home with me, unfortunately, and 6 had to stay with another member of the JCRC because they got COVID. So COVID is all over Israel right now, but thankfully everyone was fine. They just had to stay in their hotel for an extra few days, and now they're all back. And I guess their timing was good because while COVID was challenging, what happened in Israel today is even more challenging as things are heating up on the Gaza border today. And so I pray that peace comes soon to the land. But right now, let's just take a deep breath. Welcome in Shabbat. Great to be back at 6 o'clock. Let's welcome the folks on Zoom. I can see Zoom. They're coming in. And everyone on Zoom, we're doing something different this Friday. I'm in the sanctuary with many people back. And because it is the summer and several of our clergy are away on vacation, we are not split between Zoom and the sanctuary, but we're fusing the two. So I'm glad I'm here with Cantor Rosenberg, Rabbi Harper, and a sanctuary filled with people. So let's sing together. Join together on Zoom. Let's begin with a heart tap. We've introduced ourselves in the sanctuary, and let's welcome Shabbat.
La 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 la. 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 La 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 la. La 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 la. I hope everyone on Zoom can hear what a full sanctuary sound we have. Let's all sing out virtually in person together. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la
So any regulars in the sanctuary who have not been back for a Friday night since March 2020? Will you come on up for candle lighting if you're comfortable? We would love to have you. We welcome you back to the sanctuary. It's pretty amazing after 2.5 years. Page 120, the lighting of our Shabbat candles. Lauren, will you take the candle and light our candles for us? And let's join together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu במצוותיו וציוונו להדליק נר של Shabbat.
Amen. We're not ready for hugs yet, but it is good to have you back in the sanctuary. So Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thanks for being with us. As together we join on page 142 as we continue to welcome in Shabbat with the word Shalom Aleichem. Let's join together.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Page 138, beloved, come to meet the bride. Beloved, come to greet Shabbat.
Shamor v'zachor b'diburecha.
Keep and remember a single command.
Hishmianu el hameyuchad. Adonai echad.
The eternal is one.
U'shemo echad. L'shem ultiferet velitira lecha dodi likrat kala v'nei Shabbat nekabela לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונרחקים בקול הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת.
Fifth stanza, awake, awake. Arise, shine, awake, sing.
שידברי כבוד אדוני עלי לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה.
If you're table, let's rise as we face the rear of the sanctuary and welcome in the Sabbath bride.
Boi v'shalom, ateret bala.
Come, enter in peace, enter in gladness and in joy.
Toch emunei am segula, boi chala, olecha dodi likrat kala, upnei Shabbat nikavila. B'nei Shabbat nekabela. B'nei Shabbat nekabela.
Page 146, the call to worship. Baruch.
La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Baruch hu et Adonai hamivot.
And we respond as one together.
Baruch Adonai hamivot le'olam va'ed, le'olam va'ed. La 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 la.
Let's be seated as we continue on page 152. Seated upright, feet planted firmly on the ground. As we recite the word Shema Yisrael, hear, O Israel, God is one.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
And on the next page, V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Vishinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'aderech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha u'kshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeruhu vasitem et kol mitzvotai v'item kedoshim leloechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim Liot lachem leElohim, Ani Adonai Elohechem. And through these deeds of loving kindness, these mitzvot, as described in the words of V'ahavta, may we lead to a time of peace, of redemption, as symbolized by the words Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, the Song of the Sea, on page 158.
Lai, 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 lai. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nehar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef eleh, nora tehilot osef eleh. Malechutecha ra'uv hanecha, pokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, ze'eli anu ve'amru, ze'eli anu ve'amru, Adonai lo le'olam va'ed, Adonai lo le'olam va'ed.
On page 160, we offer the prayer and we ask that God spread a shelter of peace, a sukkot shalom, over each and every one of us, over our community, and over our whole world. And as we sing together, let us imagine a bubble of love that embraces first you, then the people next to you, and this whole room. And let that spread, let that feeling and love spread. Let us be the conduits for that peace, that shalom, here on earth this evening. Page 160.
Hashkiveinu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Hashkiveinu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in your wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkiveinu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Shield us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkiveinu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim, l'chaim.
We turn to page 164 as we turn to the central portion of our service. And we look back over our weeks and try to lift up what are some of the moments that we can be grateful for, that we can lift up as moments of blessing and praise. And let us incorporate those moments into our prayer this evening as we turn to page 164 and we rise as we are able.
Adonai, Sifatai Tifta, Yagi Tehilatecha, Adonai, Sifatai Tifta. Open up our lips so we may praise your name. Open up our hearts so we may feel our pain. Open up our souls to let our love make us whole, that we may praise your name. Adonai, Sifatai Tifta. Yagi Tehilatecha, Adonai, Sifatai Tifta. Yagi Tehilatecha. Baruch Ata Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imoteinu,
Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah.
Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon,
Gomel Hasadim Tovim,
V'konei hakol, v'zocher chazdei avot v'imahot, u'mevi geula livnei v'neihem, leman shemo be'ahava. Melech ozer u'moshia u'magen, Baruch ata Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Ata gibor leolam Adonai, Mechaye hakol ata Rav lehoshia, Morid hatal, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim veropeh cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar. Micha mocha val gevurot umidol melach. Melech meimit umechaye umatzmiach Yeshua. V'ne'eman ata lechayot hakol. Baruch ata Adonai Mechaye hakol. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh v'kadoshim b'chol yom yehallelu chasela. Baruch ata Adonai ha'el hakadosh.
We continue with the prayers of our own hearts or the prayers that we find on these pages. may continue to daven at your own pace. We'll rejoin together on page 180.
Oh, say shalom bimroma. Uyase shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Ve'imru. Amen. Jose shalom bimroma. Uyase shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Ve'imru. Shalom bimroma. Uyase shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Ve'imru. Amen.
We take this moment in our service to offer prayers of healing for Fu'ash Lema, speedy healing to those in our lives who we love, who we wish an extra measure of shalom, of strength and comfort on this Shabbat. If there's someone you are thinking of for Misha Berach this evening, please rise in your seats and we will come around and hear their names aloud. On Zoom, please write their names in the chat so that we may hold them together as a community this evening. Nedra and Paul Beagle, and I've also been asked to read the name of Michael Thompson. We join together on page 371 for the words of Misha Berach.
Misha Berach Avotenu Mikol HaBracha Le'amotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Yishe Berach Imotenu Mikol HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
We also join together in community to lift up special moments in our lives, the God-given moments that are an extra blessing. So this week, any birthdays since last Shabbat? Anyone in the room celebrated a birthday recently? Not in the room? How about Zoom? I can see you. I'm looking at you here, but I see you here. I'm looking for any birthdays. Oh, I see a whole bunch of hands. Mike and Elizabeth and Hannah. Is it Elizabeth? Is it your birthday? Happy birthday to you. Amazing, beautiful. Oh, the chat would be helpful, wouldn't it? There we are. So we've got some birthdays going on, anniversaries. I know that it's Laurie and Bill Narva's 42nd this week. Anyone in the room celebrating an anniversary in this week? No, perhaps anyone on Zoom? Oh, Kimmy's first wedding anniversary is on Monday. Mazal tov, beautiful. And I know we've also, Steve Hentoff welcomed a new grandson earlier in the summer. His name is Jack Emmanuel Solomon. So a mazel tov to your family on that. Any other moments that we want to lift up in this week that has gone by? Moments of celebration, please. Mazal tov, beautiful. What a beautiful confluence. I hope that her memory is a blessing as well. Beautiful. So for all of these moments, the ones we've said aloud, the ones in the chat, the ones that we're holding on to, let's join together in words of Shehachianu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu mikimanu vehigianu Hazman hazeh Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu mikimanu vehigianu Hazman hazeh. We say Amen.
So there was a lot of extraordinary Torah in our community. One of my favorite traditions that predates my 23 years here now is in the summer months, we invite members of our community to share words of Torah. And this week, it is a great honor to call upon a past president of our congregation and a very active member of our community in so many wonderful ways, Michael Gilman. So Michael, thank you for sharing words of Torah with us this evening. I'm going to set you up here.
For those who are back for the first time in 2.5 years, this is a lot of pressure. I hope it's good.
This is your Zoom congregation right here, too.
Hello. In late June, Joel asked if I would like to do a sermon or Devar Torah this summer. I responded I'd be happy to if there was a convenient date. Shanna then offered August 5, and I said sure. Then I went to the Hebrew calendar to see what the Pasha was for that week. The Pasha was Devarim, the start of the book of Deuteronomy, entering the home stretch toward the High Holy Days. In Devarim, Moses reviews the past 40 years spent in the wilderness, reiterates how the Israelites were reluctant to enter into the land, and then prepares the Israelites for entering that promised land, telling them to obey God and not to stray from the path that God has set before them. And all the while, Moses himself realizing he will not lead the people into the land in anticipating his own death. Then I noticed that the Hebrew calendar also showed the observance of Tisha B'Av starting tomorrow evening into Sunday. I lamented, Oi. Worse than oi, Echa, we cry out. Why and how did this happen? Not why and how did I land this particular Pasha, but rather why and how the destruction of the first temple by the Babylonians in 586 BCE and the second temple by the Romans in 70 CE. And even now in 2022, Echa, we lament the woes of today's world. Climate change, freedom of choice and liberty, gun violence, challenges to democracy, and so much else to cause despair. Yes, Eicha. Rather than expand on the themes of Devarim, I want to explore with you what happened historically after the destruction of the Second Temple in 70 CE, how it changed the Jewish world, and how those changes might be useful in our time of despair and lamentation. The Book of Lamentations sets the tone. It begins, "Alas, how has the city that was once so populous remained lonely? She has become like a widow. She that was great among the nations, a princess among the provinces, has become tributary. She weeps, yea, she weeps in the night, and her tears are on her cheek. She has no comforter among all her lovers. All her friends have betrayed her. They have become her enemies. The roads of Zion are mournful because no one comes to the appointed season. All her gates are desolate. Her priests moan. Her maidens grieve, while she herself suffers bitterly." Like Jerusalem then, today, we weep like the widow, wondering what has become of the greatness of our country among the nations. We shed our tears for all the losses that surround us, and we bemoan a fractured populace while searching for comfort from our leaders and grieving over what will remain for our children and grandchildren. Eicha, how do we cope in this time of despair? For more than 1,000 years, dating back to Solomon's temple and up to the destruction of the Second Temple, Jewish religious practice was temple-based and revolved around the laws of animal sacrifice. Many scholars tell us that the first and second temples were not so much a place of prayer as a place for the scripted sacrificial rituals performed by the priests at the temple altar in Jerusalem. Some say the only praying, if you could call it that, emanated from the Levites, who might chant certain psalms during the 3 times of day when the priests performed these animal sacrifices. After the destruction of the Second Temple, the times for the 3 daily sacrifices became the times for prayer, as prayer replaced these rituals of animal sacrifice. This framework for prayer continues today with the morning prayers of the Shacharit service, the afternoon prayers of the Mincha service, and the Ma'ariv service in the evening. Post-Second Temple Jerusalem, the synagogue, a Beit Knesset, or house of gathering, was established in multiple communities and became the place of prayer and study, with rabbis supplanting the temple priests. The sacrificial ceremonies with the priests petitioning God gradually became more of a prayer service for the people, with prayers of praise, not strictly petition, and the synagogue developed into a place of study as the ancient oral law became codified in the Mishnah and Talmud. The study of Torah became the most important religious act, which led to an understanding of the correct way to live in this world, and for many, preparation for the world to come, Olam Haba. Daily life became sanctified by an emphasis in Jewish law or halakha in numerous daily acts, such as laws on kashrut and a recitation of blessings for a variety of mundane actions. And these trends continued into further codifications of laws regulating religious life, resulting in the many biblical and Talmudic commentaries by the rabbis and sages. And over these centuries of development of the canon of Jewish law, what happened to Jewish prayer in the synagogue? Did the scripted prayers recited in the synagogue represent the only acts of prayer taking place in ancient times? Certainly not. These fixed prayers, the keva, which were becoming routine and institutionalized in the synagogue during the 3 daily worship service times, were never to the exclusion of intentional prayers, the kavanah of the heart. We know that such intentional, spontaneous prayer pre-existed the development of the synagogue, and indeed pre-existed the First and Second Temple periods, which lasted from around 957 BCE to 70 CE. Nowhere in the Bible do we hear about Moses gathering the people in the Mishkan, the tabernacle constructed in the desert, so that the people could assemble and pray together. It was not until after destruction of the first temple in 586 BCE that we find communal prayer, following the return from Babylonian exile around 538 BCE. The prophet Ezra, a descendant of Aaron, helped form the Great Assembly of Prophets and Sages. It was the Great Assembly that established the 18 benedictions of the Amidah, the Shemona Esrei, and the Kedusha, and required that those prayers be communal with a minyan of at least 10. But individual prayer was always present once the one God of Israel was established in monotheistic Judaism. Individual prayer came first. Collective prayer is not even mentioned in the Torah from Genesis through Deuteronomy. One well-known example of individual prayer appears in the book of Samuel, where we learn the story of Hannah, the childless wife of Elkanah. Hannah's story is read in the Haftarah on Rosh Hashanah, how Hannah poured out her heart to God in spontaneous prayer, asking God for a son. She was observed by the high priest Eli weeping, was thought to be a mumbling drunkard. Biblically speaking, this event took place in the 11th century BCE, well before Solomon's temple was completed. This is but one example. People prayed individually. Our biblical ancestors prayed both before, during, and after the first and second temple periods, even when the institutional focus was ritual animal sacrifice, and even when there was no fixed prayer or prayer book to follow. And our biblical ancestors prayed with kavanah, which brings me to us today, here at TBE. How can the prayer of our hearts help us with our current state of despair? We have our prayer book, our Siddur, our Mishkan Tefillah. It is filled with beautiful fixed text. What do we bring to it? What is our intention, our kavanah, as we participate in our Shabbat service? Are we tied to the text of the prayer book, the weekly repetition and order it presents, or do we adopt a more spontaneous approach, an approach that is less mechanical and more from the heart? And need we be limited to this 1-hour Shabbat service to express our innermost thoughts, feelings, and emotions? Abraham Joshua Heschel expressed his concerns this way when seeking to balance keva and kavanah. Quote, "There is a specific difficulty of Jewish prayer. There are laws, how to pray, when to pray, what to pray. There are fixed times, fixed ways, fixed texts. On the other hand, prayer is worship of the heart, the outpouring of the soul, a matter of kavanah, inner devotion. Thus, Jewish prayer is guided by two opposite principles: order and outburst, regularity and spontaneity, uniformity and individuality, law and freedom, a duty and a prerogative, empathy and self-expression, insight and sensitivity, creed and faith, the word and that which is beyond words." Heschel goes on to say that an equilibrium between these two poles must be maintained. The pole of regularity usually proves to be stronger than the pole of spontaneity, and as a result, there's a perpetual danger of prayer becoming mere habit, a mechanical performance, an exercise of repetitiousness. The fixed pattern and regularity of our services tends to stifle the spontaneity of devotion. Our great problem, therefore, is how not to let the principle of regularity impair the power of spontaneity, kavanah. Maimonides agrees with Heschel, or is it Heschel agreeing with Maimonides, and tells us, prayer without kavanah is no prayer at all. He who has prayed without kavanah ought to pray once more. But how do I get my kavanah into the prayers I'm reading in the prayer book? The answer in part is singing. Song opens the heart, and the heart is where we find our kavanah. And where is my kavanah when I am not here in the sanctuary filled with song, when I am alone? Can I be praying when I am walking with music filling my head through my earbuds? Possibly, but what is my intention? The answer to this question is one of theology and depends on your view of God. Am I talking to the trees and chipmunks when I walk along the brook path? Is it a who or a what that I communicate with from my heart? Without getting too deep into theology, Heschel helps us answer these questions. Quote, "The individual self of the worshiper is the whole sphere of prayer life. The assumption is that God is an idea, a process, a source, a fountain, a spring, a power. But one cannot pray to an idea. One cannot address his prayers to a fountain of values. To whom then do we direct our prayers? Yes, there is an answer. As a recent writer put it, we address prayers to the good within ourselves." And how do we do that? How do we address our prayers to the good within ourselves? Let me provide just one example using the Mishaberach prayer we sing in our Shabbat service. The singing within community helps, but there is nothing to prevent saying or singing a Mishaberach for anyone you love or care about at any time, even if you are alone. This is a far cry from what happened in my shul when I was a bar mitzvah boy, and still occurs in many conservative synagogues and in the Orthodox community. During the Torah service, the rabbi will ask if anyone in the congregation wishes a prayer for healing to be said for someone who is not well. The congregant who is thinking of someone may go up to the bima or remain seated in the congregation. Then the rabbi will recite, mumble, the Mishaberach, inserting the names of all those mentioned. And so far as you or that congregant is concerned, that's it. You take no active role, you say nothing, you sing nothing, you stand or sit there and listen for the name of your loved one. I don't even think the words recited by the rabbi were in the prayer book. Where is the kavanah in that? In contrast, today here at TBE or at your home or out in nature, you can say your own Mishaberach from the heart, filled with love and perhaps with tears. You are praying with an open heart, with kavanah, and in doing so, you are not only hoping for the healing of others, but providing yourself with the hope, strength, and the courage to face the day, feeling less helpless in the face of things over which we have no control. Don't say you are unable to pray from the heart. If you ever loved, then you have prayed. And praying with this kavanah is not limited to a Mishaberach. It can be applied to all your prayers, be they written in the prayer book or written on your heart. I began this talk with the cry, Echa, for the how and the why of the destruction of the first and second temples and for all the brokenness in today's world. But the word Echa, spelled by the Hebrew letters, Aleph, Yud, Chaf, Hey, has the same letters as the word Ayecha, which we find etched in the wooden benches around the sanctuary. Ayecha, that asks each of us, where are you? So where are you when you're praying? Are you able to answer your Ayecha with Hineni? I am here. I am here praying with an open heart, with full kavanah, willing to show my love, my tears, and my fears, exposing all my vulnerabilities, be it in community or in solitude. And in that way, allow your prayers to not only bring a better day and a future of wholeness and peace for your children, grandchildren, and those you might not even know, for all humanity, but also bring hope to yourself in the face of despair. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.
Michael, thank you for reminding us of not only the power of personal prayer, but also the power that music gives to that personal prayer. Since I've been at TBE, I've had the blessing of being able to find a musical outlet both for me personally and me professionally. And Michael asked that this musical setting follow his words. A text of Leah Goldberg's, "Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer on the mystery of a withered leaf." Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer on the mystery of a withered leaf, on ripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hold. despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night you renew your days, lest my days be as the ones before, lest routine set my ways. Namteni Elohai barech ve'yitpalel lameretz siftotai bracha ve'shir halel Lamteni Elohai barech ve'yitpalel Lameret siftotai bracha v'shir halel bracha v'shir halel bracha v'shir halel.
We now return to our prayer book on page 586. If you're able, please rise for the Aleinu.
Aleinu
לשבח לאדון הכל, תת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו משפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
And we continue with words of mourners Kaddish on the screen and on page 598 in the sanctuary. It's our custom to invite the mourners in our midst to rise if you're able in the sanctuary, or to use the chat room on Zoom, recording all of those names of the individuals we're remembering. And so people can help. Do we miss anyone in the sanctuary? I've also been asked to recite the names of David Moffinson, the father of Jay Moffinson, Richard Talamo, the father of Jonathan Talamo, David Turney, the father-in-law of Deb Turney, and Cynthia Karen, the mother of Jeff Karen. We remember all of them along with all of those individuals whose names are recorded in the chat room this evening, and I ask the mourners to please join with me in these words. Everyone in the sanctuary, if you can join in support of the mourners. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Bi'amad yivrach cherutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayachon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala v'zman kari v'imru Amen.
Amen.
Yehei shmei Rabbah morach le'olam olamei omaya. I'm waiting for the Zoom screen, I'm sorry. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shemed kudashah b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata ta'amiran bi'ama v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. A few brief announcements. Tomorrow, Shabbat morning, we have our Touch Shabbat at 10 o'clock outdoors right here. And Minyan will be meeting online? Only online at 10 o'clock. And then tomorrow night is Tisha B'Av, and so our observance will be on Zoom at 7:30 p.m. It will be a time to listen to the words of Echa, of Lamentations, and to learn as well as we observe the commemoration of the destruction of the temples in Jerusalem. There are a number of announcements. Hopefully people are getting the broadcast throughout the summer, a lot of activities taking place. Am I missing anything? So let us now raise a glass of wine. And on Zoom, I'm going to invite anyone that has wine near you. I see the Solomons lifting up their glasses. If we see your glasses, it means that we may shine the light on you and highlight your picture. And then in the sanctuary, let's join together, page 123.
Baruch
Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu b'shabbat kodsho b'ahava u'ratzon hintilanu. Zikaron le'maaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila le'mikra'ei kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim, ki banu v'achata v'yotanu kidashta mikol hamim. V'shabbat kodshecha ve'ahava u'ratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. Julie, will you uncover the challah for us? Perfect. And we're going to say the blessing real soon, but I want to thank Michael for your Devar Torah, Yasher Koach. Soon we're going to go outside for Oneg on Zoom. You know what? There's already out there, but we're going to say the blessing in here on that one. But before we do, I want to say for those on Zoom, soon we'll open up the microphones to wish each other Shabbat Shalom. And those in the sanctuary, we can greet each other outside if you're more comfortable now that it's dried up, or in the atrium. But first, let's say the blessing over the bread. And if you're at home, let's see your challah in front of you as we join together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'te'avot. Julie, you want to take a little piece of challah and take a bite? And we're going to sing and go outside. Shabbat Shalom. Good
Shabbat
Shabbos.
Shalom. La 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 Shalom.